My question is for Cornel West, and thank you so much for your brilliant answers so far. Many of us Christians understand that the radical message of Jesus was made dangerous in his time by its opposition to the violent dominance of the Roman Empire and the supremacy of economic, political, and religious power. In our time of increasing wealth inequality, privatized faith, and different forms of violent supremacy on the rise, has the church in the West lost the revolutionary way of Jesus? And how do we get it back?
Cornel.
I appreciate the question. Now, I think part of the genius of the Christian tradition at its best, and this is a prophetic version, which is always a slice, because the Christian church is founded on the bones of Peter, who denied Jesus 3 times. So you have low expectations of such an institution. But that same Peter didn't deny that he had denied him, as Chesterton says, and he's absolutely right. He bounced back. The history of our species is the history of hatred and envy and resentment and domination and oppression. And what Jesus tries to do coming out of prophetic Judaic tradition is to break it, to interrupt it. And it's something that seems to be so weak in the world. Love is actually the most powerful when looked at through the lens of those who are willing to be crucified in order to bounce back, to learn how to die in order to learn how to live. That's what it is to be Christian, and therefore you always have relatively low expectations in terms of the overall project, but you have high expectations of the possibilities. That's what the cross is about. That's what Martin King was about. That's what Dorothy Day was about. That's what the great ones were. But now Christians, I speak as a Christian, of course, so I have my biases. I don't think we Christians have any monopoly on this. We've got Buddhist examples, we've got Jewish examples, we've got agnostic, and we've got atheistic examples. But the important thing is not to run out of gas. Don't allow the despair to have the last word. Don't allow the hatred to have the last word, even if what seems to be so weak and feeble, namely your commitment to a love of neighbor and love of enemy, to bear witness, and then to create some interruption. Democracy itself is a certain kind of love. Democracy creates an interruption of the dominant orientations of human history, monarchs, suzerains, elites, right across the board. The problem these days, the corporate elite function in some ways like the monarchs did. The oligarchs function like the monarchs. They don't want to be accountable. They're greedy. They want to seize the public square for their own private good. How do you account for the 1% having so much? They're so smart, please. They work so hard, please. But we don't want to take their money because we don't want to be violating their rights. We want to tell them, you're greedy and you got poor folk over here, and this distribution going upward over and over again flies in the face of the best of the prophetic legacy of Jerusalem. It flies in the face of the Socratic legacy of
Cornel.
Athens. Our pagans have something to say on this issue, too.
Cornel, I think the moneylenders are fleeing the temple as we speak.
Let them flee, let them go, let them go.
We'll have to we'll let you have the last word because I'm told we're out of time.